Hi, my name is Muhammida. I'm here with the Araminta Society Conversations, where my esteemed colleague, friend, sister, Chista Sanders.
Yep. It's wonderful to be back again. We look forward to continuing this conversation and hopefully giving you a number of great tips based on our real life experience of living in Ghana.
Yeah. So I think what happens when people come to visit Ghana,
Yes.
maybe they're on a vacation,
Yeah.
they instantly think, what can I do? I want to move here. I love it here. What can I do? Right? We both felt that at some point, right?
Yes. We felt that at a very different point, because now the folks that I find that are coming, it's really interesting, Muhammida. They'll say, oh my gosh, I did Dirty December, right? Which is like the party scene of the century here in Ghana, also in Nigeria. But Ghana seems to be the one that a lot of the diaspora is coming to. And after 2 to 3 weeks of partying all night long, which essentially is what Dirty December is all about, and also enjoying the Christmas spirit, if you will, or the holiday spirit, people often come to me and say, how do I move here? And I want to say to them, well, it's not Dirty December all year round, but it is an incredible experience. But I think the more recent folks I'm seeing coming, that Dirty December has had such an impact that they want to be part of the return movement to Ghana. Yeah.
And I think it's not like how things work in the US or Europe, right? So how we think about things in terms of earning money and things like that it doesn't work like that here, right? So, there's a few ways. You can get a job. They're like, what jobs are here? I'm like,
look online. Look online.
LinkedIn, right? There are probably 5 international jobs that you got one.
I got one.
You can be an entrepreneur, you can study, or you can be a retiree, right? Because if you're a young person, getting a job, earning a salary in the local currency in the city, you're not going to live that kind of lifestyle that maybe you are doing during Dirty December, right?
It's a different vibe, different energy.
So they're always what kind of jobs are out there? I'm like, wrong question. If you're asking that, usually...
Right. I mean, what I normally say, and again, I'm a little more conservative, I think. I wanted to come, and I wanted to make sure I landed on firm footing, having a job with an international corporation or educational institution. And so what I want to say to people is, yes, those jobs are far and few between, but they do exist. You just have to be patient, and you need to be actively searching for them. So working for example, an internationally recognized nonprofit, there's a lot of nonprofit work. I have friends who are in that sector. Educational institution, as I said, the entire team that I joined at NYU, I was the only hire from abroad. So that's what we mean when we say there are not a ton of those jobs, but you do your research, you may be able to find one. That's because a lot of people want to come and be paid in foreign currency, in this case, in US dollars. We say USD. In Ghana, we'd like that option. So I want to say that it is possible. There are just not a lot of those jobs, and you need to start early on and see what distinguishes you from others. Because here, they're looking at, well, can you do it better than someone who lives here locally? So you have to be able to prove yourself, right? And so I would say don't give up on that. But more often than not, I see a lot of people who are coming as entrepreneurs. And I am so encouraged by the many entrepreneurs that come here, including yourself, to build great businesses like Wax Print Media, incredible business that you've established over these years. Those possibilities are there too, because the beautiful thing about Ghana is this is an open market for ideas and possibilities. For example, something as simple as bobo tea. Is it bobo tea, right? My daughter, I have a 13-year-old daughter, she loves it. So I've met about 2 or 3 Ghanaians from the diaspora who have come back and set up those establishments. And when I say there's a queue or a line around the corner always for that boba tea, they have thriving businesses. So now they've opened a couple of them, you know. So I think this is an entrepreneurial society in Ghana. That's the beauty of Ghana. It's a trading society. You see it everywhere. Everyone is building a shop, an idea. And so I think for diasporans, there are incredible opportunities, and we need to see those opportunities, and we're open to those opportunities. Yeah. You can talk about the journey of what it is to be an entrepreneur, because you are a successful entrepreneur here.
Yes, I want to get into it, but I want to go back a little bit. I think people want to come and get a job working in Ghana, but they have no international experience, right? So that was something like you had traveled and worked internationally. And so I think if you want to live and work here, you're not just going to like have a job for the city or be a lawyer or something in Cincinnati, Ohio, and a company in Ghana is just going to like choose you over all the other Ghanaians. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's something I think people really need to keep in mind. You had a like super long experience, extensive experience working internationally, which made you attractive to a company in Ghana, right? NYU just didn't choose you because like, you know, you had been working in education in the U.S. and just plopped you out. Like, no, they chose you because like this is someone who can work in this environment. So I think that is also something key.
I mean, it's very valid. I would agree to that. I think having the experience of working in other parts of Africa had helped me. I had some experiences in Ethiopia. I'd had travel experiences, I think to date, about 24, 25 African countries.
Wow, did y'all hear? Repeat that. How many African countries?
25 African countries, but there are quite a few countries that we have. But yes, and I desire to see every nation of this incredibly diverse continent that we find ourselves in today. So definitely have the experience. I had also worked and studied abroad in Spain and in Germany. I had the language background and so on and so forth, but not specifically in languages here. However, fortunately, English is the national language, if you will, of business in this country. So that is not a barrier as opposed to maybe Ivory Coast with French or another Portuguese speaking or Spanish speaking country on the continent. But yeah, having those experiences is important, but you can still work to have them. If you really desire to be here and have that firm footing and landing here and you want to transition your life. You know, I'm one of the eternal optimists. I would say if you really, where there's a will, you know, there's a way, and to go after it. But in being practical about it, definitely being an entrepreneur, there are many pathways here to an emerging business or an idea in Ghana.
That 100%. I mean, I think I kind of like did a tiptoe method, I would say, of moving here and starting a business here. I mean, so I did 1 year in a fellowship with MESS, with a technology startup incubator. And then after that, I figured 1 year would give me time to like also check the scene, like get a better sense of like what it's like to work here. And then after that, you really actually helped me, right? Because I wanted to stay in Ghana beyond my fellowship and was looking for opportunities. And when you're in Ghana looking for opportunities, like we said, if it's paid in local currency, you're like, I haven't made this much money since I was 16 years old and I was getting minimum wage.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
So there's an adjustment.
Right. There's definitely an adjustment. But you were like, and I give that same advice you gave me to so many people. You're like, take the job, which was like a decent salary in Ghana, which I was going to be working at a digital marketing agency. And she was like, you're smart. You're going to figure out how to supplement that income. Take the job, because you need to have experience working in Ghana, whether you want to have a business here or you want to work here. Either one, like you need that experience. And I was like, oh my God, this is like so little. And that's a key thing. We're going to talk about tips. They're just going to be throughout. You have to change your mindset from U.S. or Europe, and you have to be like truly present in Ghana.
I agree.
Right.
100%. And also another thing, again, the more conservative side of myself says, come with some savings. So whatever savings that you have, because there is an adjustment with salary, it's not going to be U.S. salaries per se, unless you come through a U.S. company or an international organization. That is possible, right? To have savings to help supplement what you're about to do here. And then you figure out your way. I mean, most of the people that I know did not come the way that I have come. You know, they've come in a variety of different ways. I should also say, for those who are in education, there's a whole, you know, international community school network of teachers, but you may not get the salary that you would hope for back in the United States, but then you're trading in also for a life transformative experience, if you will, right? So those things also have to be, you know, kind of factored in.
Yeah.
And school is also an option too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had, because my second 10 years, I ran Webster University as the head of that institution, and we were offering U.S. accredited degrees in Ghana. I had so many members of the diaspora also coming for graduate work in Ghana to earn that degree. So that's another pathway and track, one that you were also on at one point of your life. So I think there's many different ways that it can be done, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I kind of gone through a few stages. So I was here as a student. I did a fellowship. I was a worker. And I told people, if you want to start a business here, working here was like the best groundwork ever, right? Because there are things that I saved myself so much money, so much time with my business, having experience working here, right? I learned, oh my God, so much. So I worked almost a year. That like kind of like I got my feet wet in learning the who's who in the business world at the major corporations in Ghana. I learned things like, you know, at a meeting, how people are going to interact with each other, how low everyone in Ghana speaks.
I mean, the business culture is very different. Even I know working in higher education, my immediate boss, we wouldn't speak. She would rather introduce every member of the team when we would be having a meeting with another institution, which I found that to be very interesting. Sometimes our meetings would begin with prayer, because again, Ghana is such a religious country. And so we have to also keep that in mind, the religious aspect of it and how people navigate it. So for example, in Ghana, when it comes to Sunday, we are not working. We are in church praising the Lord. That's what we're doing in this country, right? And whether you are a believer, you're not a believer, there's a whole cultural piece around that with work, and also allowing staff to have those opportunities for church programs, for family programs,
for funerals. Talk about it.
Let's talk about funerals. All of these kind of cultural celebrations of life, if it's a funeral, or the outdooring of a child being given a name. All of these sort of family and cultural traditions are very important, and somehow they are also part of the workplace as well. And so you also have to be able, to like navigate around that too. So that's the interesting cultural piece of leaving what we know from the West behind and really embracing all that Ghana has to offer in our professional lives and outside. For example, let me just give one example of this. I realized that with my staff at both of the educational institutions that I worked with, and in the last case led, attending a funeral of a family member really helped in terms of even the work relationship, because the respect, which is such an important thing in Ghana, respect is a critical part of the fabric of the society. I gained that. So through attending someone's family's funeral, going to a wedding, going to an outdooring, all of those things helped me also somehow connect further and deeper into the society, which then gave me more of a leeway than for if I needed something for a program or something, she also was there for our family and we appreciate that. And it was never a strategic thing, okay? It just sort of kind of happened, and you learn to work beautifully with your Ghanaian colleagues. And one of the things that I really love in Ghana and in the workplace is that we begin with pleasantries. We don't just go to work like we do sometimes in America. You know, you just go to work, you get your coffee, you're on the metro or the subway, you're at work, hi, go to your cubicle. It's not like that. We really engage with each other. How's the family? That's all part of the business environment in Ghana. So you can't get business done here without those pleasantries, without attending those events and so on and so forth. And that's a critical difference. And so I've enjoyed that, though. I feel like today I'm much more Ghanaian than I am actually American because of those things that I now, to this day, really, really appreciate.
Yeah, I think it's true. And I think takes allowing yourself that time, right? Because you can't, I think sometimes when you're from the West, you think that you know everything. Right? You think you know everything. You think you're smarter than... you know, other people that maybe have an accent. So if you come with that sort of mentality, you're gonna have it's gonna backfire, and you're gonna have a long period of adjustment, longer than it should, right? So when I came, you know, I allowed myself this kind of like slow period before. I didn't even initially think that I'm coming to Ghana to start a business. That wasn't like my initial plan. I mean, I am an entrepreneur. I had businesses before I moved here, but that wasn't like my initial thing. But I took all of those experiences, the experience I had doing business in the U.S. and working here, you know, as a worker, before I started my business, which literally I built from the ground up. You know, I came here, I knew 2 people like you, which I never saw because you were busy running NYU or Webster or whatever, and like one other person. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, so I don't know anybody. How am I going to create this thing? It's a totally different culture. And I didn't think because I work with huge companies in the US or in Japan or Brazil or whatever that I'm going to understand how it works in Ghana. Like, you know, so having that humility is
critical.
Yeah.
It's
really
critical to getting to know people and also to being successful in the society and to gain the respect from the society. And I think, you know, I'm not trying to toot our horns here, but I think you and I have both done a very good job of that. That we have solid foundation in the country, we have solid relationships, business and otherwise, with Ghanaians, and that's so important. It's an important part of being successful, I think, in any culture, but especially this one, because it's so familial and it's so relational. And so having that in mind before you move here, I think, is also an important tip.
Yeah. All right. So, that's just kind of a little bit about living, working in Ghana, which is like we get those questions a lot
all the time.
And you know, how to find a job or how to start a business. You know, so just kind of like tips you need to know before you go, before you come. And there's no manual, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. There is no manual for anything. But you just have to, I keep saying where there's a will, there's a way. You really have to believe that all is going to be possible here and just go for it. And what I find is the Ghanaian society is so open to ideas and innovation. There is respect, I think, for people who come from the West and the ideas that they bring and that exchange of ideas. But it may not be, you know, as we said before, we don't know everything. There has to be that fair exchange and respect between both cultures. And I think that we've been able to navigate that well.
For sure. That's definitely helped me in the business world, you know, running a marketing and communications agency. Interesting enough, I would say the majority of my clients here in Ghana are foreign, right? So I would say I work with French, Lebanese, Italian, Japanese, like people from all over the world. And they're looking for someone. So that's the thing, have like be, you know, unique in what you do. And also my approach to the work. I'm giving a very high quality work. I understand international global standards, but I also train my team. That's one thing I would say. Anybody who's coming to Ghana,
that's important.
Your team, I mean, that's important everywhere, but here it's at another level, right? And working at another company, I knew from the start that I was going to have to really, really invest in my team. Most people started as interns, and we have a 90-day period of like intense training, very intense training to bring them up to the level and to the standards that I need them to be at. And once I understood that, I feel like it saves me a lot of time and energy and effort, and, you know, been able to work with some of the biggest companies in the world who operate right here in Ghana and across West Africa, Mercedes-Benz, Jaguar, Land Rover, Air France.
You have all of them. I am so impressed. And I mean, it's amazing when we look at our own stories and how we've met and how we've become very close sister friends, but also I've been your client.
Yes, that's right.
At Webster University, and you took us to an entirely different level, particularly when it came to bringing the diaspora for educational experiences in country. I mean, you did so much for us, and we're so grateful. The way you and your team also just managed our team, it was wonderful, and we were able to really achieve so much. So I thank you. Actually,
all right, I forgot. You were my client.
Yes, and we aspire to be your client through my other business, Black Women Abroad, in curating those very special and unique bespoke experiences for Black women and their advocates in many parts of Africa and the world. We are hoping to work with you as well. And that says a lot, you know, and we've also recommended you so many times, right? So, you know, well done. As they say in Ghana, ayeko means well done.
All right, great. Well, thank you for joining us for another conversation, Araminta Society conversation, where we're dropping gems, sharing insights, sharing our experiences on moving to Ghana, moving to the motherland, moving to the African continent as an African American, and what that experience has been like. So stay tuned. Also, if you have questions, drop them in the comments, because we can just like answer them, you know, maybe in a future conversation, or we can respond to you right there then. Thank you.
Thanks.